Welcome to the If You Could See Me podcast. Thank you for joining the movement. I'm your host, Erin Mahone. I'm an author, storyteller, facilitator, and mental health professional. I like to talk about big things, ask difficult questions, and challenge the ways in which we perceive ourselves, one another, and what's possible in the world. On this podcast, I speak to thinkers, makers, feelers, and folks fighting for change. You'll experience entertaining, thought-provoking conversations with people from all walks of life. I believe that mental health is health, and it goes so far beyond conversations about illness, medications, and treatment. Our mental health is essential to living our best lives, and I want to live in a world in which we talk about emotional wellness as easily and frequently as talking about the common cold. We aren't there yet, but I believe we can be. When I set out to create this thing, I had no idea what I was doing. Just that I wanted to share my story and I hoped I wasn't alone. I've discovered that so many people need to find solidarity. They need to know they aren't alone. Well, I'm here to tell you, you are not alone. We can have these difficult conversations in the light of day. We can laugh, joke, and get serious about making change. I've tried to create multiple entry points within this movement, and I hope you will take some time to check out all of our resources and consider sharing your story on our website, ifyoucouldseeme.com. There you can submit your story, find mental health resources, submit ideas or resources yourself, read the stories of other brave warriors, find out about future live events, and invite me to speak or give a workshop in your area. If you're inspired by what we're doing, I hope you'll consider helping out by visiting our Patreon page, patreon.com/ifyoucouldseeme, purchasing my book, rating and reviewing this podcast on iTunes to help people find us, or just send me a message to let me know how this project is impacting you, ways we can improve, and future podcast or blog topics. This was only an idea until amazing people like you joined me in bringing it to life. Enjoy the show. I'm going to start the evening with a song. There's only us, there's only this, forget, regret, all life is yours to miss. No other road, no other way, no day but today.
Thank you. My name is Erin Mahone, and I am the creator of whatever this thing is that we've come here tonight to do. But the thing that I always say to all of the amazing folks that participate with me in things like this is that this was only an idea until these brave people joined me in the process. Otherwise, it would just be me sitting in a room talking to myself, which no one wants to see. When I was a kid, I had two trademarks, specific things about me. I could sing, and I cried all the time. I was a really sensitive and anxious child, always afraid. And the messages that I got from the world were that I needed to be different than I was, that the world didn't like sensitive people, that people were going to be annoyed with me or frustrated by me or generally overwhelmed by the amount of emotion that I put out into the world, by how much I cared about everything. And so growing up, I built a really hard shell around myself. I got tough. I got mean. I got angry. I got cynical. I got jaded. I realized that if I was going to be safe, then I had to be protected. And the only person that could do that was me. And that made a very angry young woman, a very apathetic young woman, a woman who secretly believed that she wasn't worthy of love and happiness and being just the way she was. I was afraid that if I stood up in front of you, you being the world, and if you found out who I really was, that you wouldn't love me, that you couldn't respect me. If people found out who Erin really was, they would leave. A few years ago, I decided that I was going to start standing up anyway. And the thing that I discovered in standing up in front of rooms full of people over and over and over again and telling you what was true about me is that you loved me more, that you respected me more, and that you desperately needed to hear what was true about my experience so that it made you feel safe to talk about your own. This is a very simple thing, this project. Storytelling is the oldest art form. We've been doing it for millennia. We've been doing it since before we had language. But something happened through the course of our culture in which we commodified the human condition. And our stories came to mean less than what we produced. And our value became tied up in how much money we had and what we looked like and where we lived. And this project for me is a return to the basic fundamentals of our own humanity. And that is that I'm going to tell you my story, and you're going to listen. And if you want to come up to me later and tell me your story, I'm going to listen. But ultimately, this is a relationship between the person standing up here and you in the audience. I believe in the power of story for change. I believe that when we are kinder to ourselves, when we learn self-compassion most of all, then we can see the good and the beauty and the value in every person, no matter who they are and what they experience. And I could not be more grateful to have these magnificent human beings along on this journey with me, to have Dean along on this journey with me, and to have all of you. You are as important to this process as any one of us. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for giving us your attention, and we're going to get on with the show. Okay? You can clap. This is a really chill, like, we're really open, and you can laugh and you can clap and, all that stuff. We're very comfortable with one another. So our first presenter this evening is a funny, joyful, inspiring, wonderful storyteller who is proof that it is never too late to begin again. Please welcome Miss Nancy Byrne.
Oh, okay, that's better. And these two are a tough act to follow, so just bear with me if you don't mind. By the time I graduated from high school, I had attended 9 different schools. All that moving around caused a lot of isolation, feeling of being not belonging anywhere ever. I was very unsure of myself. The move in the middle of 4th grade from Chicago to outside of Atlanta was a really stressful move. It was so stressful that I ended up in the hospital physically sick. My white blood count was through the roof. I was doubled over in pain. I had a fever. They thought I had appendicitis or something. Something was going on. I was just happy not to be at school. So I went through a battery of tests, 3 days of tests, and they found nothing. However, after 3 days of not being at school, the pain went away, white cell count got down to where it was supposed to be, and the fever was gone. So I was released with a clean bill of physical health. No school, no stress, no sick. I went back to school, and the teacher asked me, would I like to come up and tell everyone where I'd been? Now, what the hell is a 10-year-old supposed to say in 1968 to their teacher? No, thank you? No, you didn't do that. Especially if you're the new kid who has barely said 2 words in the class, who is chubby, short, doesn't get picked for teams, and talks funny. Chicago, Atlanta. I talked funny. So I got up, and I opened my mouth, and I told the story. And I was funny. I was funny. And they laughed. And they weren't laughing at me. They were laughing with me. I was in. I was a part, finally, of this group. So with every new school came the funny, dragged it out, and I dug in really fast because God knows how long I'd be there. I didn't want to be there for too long without having some group to be a part of. I might go home from school that day and find out that we're moving again. So my funny came along. Right after high school, I had my first episode of depression. And my funny just didn't cut it anymore. It just didn't stand a chance against all that blackness. Right about that time, I discovered alcohol and recreational drugs. And I found out that I didn't have to feel funny to be funny. The drugs did that. The alcohol did that. And again, I was a part of something. Well, over the years, I drank more and more, even while I was taking meds for my depression. Not a good idea, FYI. And my body and soul and brain were all at war with each other. So in June of 2011, I said uncle, and I went to my first AA meeting. And I haven't looked back since. In January of 2012, just around 6 months in, I went to my first party with friends with whom I used to party. Everything was going along, people were arriving, and all of a sudden, I was terrified. I ran upstairs and I told my friend, I have to go, I have to leave, I can't stay. And she said, are you afraid you're going to drink? I said, no, that didn't even cross my mind. And I felt myself turn in on myself and shrink. And I was that 10-year-old again. I said, what if they don't like me? I don't know how to act. Well, she held me and tried to encourage me, but gave me space and gave me room to make my own decision. And I realized that if I left, I might not get the chance to share with myself and everyone else this new version of me, my true self, my sober self. So I stayed. And I wasn't alone in a room full of people. And for the first time, my funny joined me at the party. First time in a really long time. And we fit right in. You see, recovery is an action word. We have to dig in and dig out that person that we were meant to be. We have to peel back the layers and learn how to sit with the pain and the fear in that 10-year-old and let her know that she is loved and she is good enough and she has a place. It's taken me almost 7 years in recovery to be able to sit with that 10-year-old. It's the hardest thing I have ever done. But me and my funny, we're really glad we did it. Thank you.
Nancy, you might need your glasses. I'm trying not to cry. Yeah, there's just nothing really, there's nothing to say. It's amazing when you get to see the truth come out of a person and when you can relate. So we all have that 10-year-old. And that 10-year-old is manifested in 1,000 different ways, but we all have it. It is an entirely universal piece of all humans. Our next presenter is a beautiful, hilarious, wry, loving, brilliant woman. She is the ultimate survivor. Please welcome Pamela Lynn Hoke.
Don't get your hopes up because of that. First, I want to say that my amygdala is an asshole. And for those of you who don't know what an amygdala is, it's the part of your brain in the temporal lobe that tells you whether you should punch somebody in the face or run away from them. There's also this other part where you just kind of stand there and you stop and you don't know what to do. Now, the funny part about my amygdala is that somewhere along the way, I know exactly when things got messed up. You see, I'm a survivor of sex trafficking. From the age of 13 to almost my 18th birthday, I was coerced and threatened into being sold for sex to greedy, horrible, evil people. So, over those 4 years, I experienced hell. And it's really hard for me to talk about the emotional part of that. But logically, I can tell you, here's what happened. I was taken from my home and my family, and I was forced to do things that no one should ever have to do. And I wouldn't wish what happened to me on the people who trafficked me. That's how bad it was. So my amygdala now, after I was diagnosed with complex post-traumatic syndrome, it doesn't work right anymore. See, what happens is that I hear a bang or a noise, and I automatically think, danger, 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 run. And sometimes that really sucks, because this response that's supposed to keep me safe puts me in an emotional position that I'm not prepared to handle most of the time. Being able to sit on this front row with my back towards all of you strangers. I don't know what your intentions are. I don't know if you have a knife that you're going to stab in my back. I don't know who you are and if you want to hurt me. That's what PTSD has done to me. But I want to tell you a story about the time that I overcame my PTSD in the most amazing way. You see, much like Aaron, I love to sing. It's my safe place. It's the place where I can go and kind of black out and be in that safe area, where as long as I'm singing, nothing can happen. So what happens when I have a PTSD attack right before I'm supposed to go on stage and sing one of my favorite songs at karaoke? My amygdala is an asshole. So I'm standing outside with my friends, and this really sketchy looking man comes and joins our group. But he doesn't just join our group in a way like he wants to be friendly. He joins our group in a way that makes me think he has ulterior motives. And he's just standing there next to me. And immediately my mind jumps into flee mode. I have to leave. But I say, no, Pam, we're not going to do this. We're having a good time. We're going to stay here, and we're going to get through this. It's going to be okay. So I move to the other side of the circle. And this sketchy man, he also moves to the other side of the circle with me. And some of you might be thinking, yeah, that's kind of weird. I would probably feel weird about that too. But in my head, I'm thinking I'm overreacting. Like, calm down, Pam, it's just a person. You don't see a gun, you don't see a knife, he doesn't have a mask on, he's not going to hurt you. And I said, well, you haven't seen the evil that I've seen that comes in the forms of all of you. See, Stephen King once said, monsters are real and ghosts are real too. They live inside us, and sometimes they win. And sometimes fear of the unknown is not the biggest fear in the world. It's what I already know. What I already know people are capable of. So as this man standing next to me, I'm thinking, is this it? He's going to come into this karaoke club with all these happy people, and he's going to shoot us all, and it's all going to be over. And if I don't run right now, I'm going to be that person, and I didn't survive through what I survived through to die at a karaoke bar. So I was like, well, it's almost time for me to sing. I'm going to go back inside. So I go back inside, and luckily for me, the KJ, one of my best friends, he also suffers with PTSD, but he's a combat veteran. See, I fought the war that we don't talk about, and he fought in the war that everybody talks about. So I knew that at least he had my back, you know. So I go in, and I take my chair, and I move it to the wall, and I'm sitting on the edge of the wall looking. If I were a superhero, my power would be hypervigilance, because I see everything, and I know where every exit in the building is, and I know how far I would have to run in order to get to safety. So I was sitting in my hypervigilant state, and I'm sitting there, I'm watching this guy come back in, and he walks across down the aisle. And he goes and he sits in the very back booth by himself, doesn't have a drink, doesn't have food, and he's sitting there, and all I'm thinking is, this is it. This is the way I go. But an amazing thing happens, and I notice that other people are seeing this man. And we're looking across at each other, kind of like, yeah, he's sketchy. And I'm like, yeah, isn't he? Like, I'm not crazy. So needless to say, the way that I overcame my PTSD in that scenario was I got up there and I sang, because fuck that guy. You're not going to take amygdala, what I love to do, away from me. So I'm constantly in a battle with my logical responses and the responses that I have that come from complex PTSD. I have a fear of remembering. I have a fear of survivor's guilt. And if you could see me, you would see that I am not an inspiration. And I know that sounds like self-defeating, but it's not. I really want people to understand, because sometimes my story has been tried to be used as a commodity. Like, here's this woman who's not afraid to speak out about the fact that she was trafficked. Oh my God, that's so amazing. Tell me about everything that you lived through and all this stuff. And you know what I want most? I want people to stop looking at me as an inspiration and be as hypervigilant as my amygdala makes me, and look out into the world and you tell me what you see and you help them. I don't want empathy. I don't want sympathy. I don't want pity. I want work. I want whatever you can do. And you say, Pamela, I don't know what I can do. This is such a tall order. You know, it goes on in America and in third world countries, and how can we battle such a horrific thing? You can donate your time. You can donate your money. You can listen to people like me tell their stories and not think of me as an inspiration and say, you know what, I want to do what she's doing. Because I'm not just a survivor of sex trafficking. I'm a person who fucks up a lot, and sometimes I don't want to get out of bed. And sometimes I just want to live as a normal person. When my brain is trying to convince me that I'm not normal and that these girls that I lost will be with me forever and their faces will never go away. So please, don't call me an inspiration. And don't tell me thank you. It's not because I don't deserve it. Because I believe we're all deserved, we all deserve love and compassion. I just want something done about it. Thank you.
And now she's laughing in the front row. I'm going to break your rules, and I'm going to tell you thank you. Please give her another round of applause. This is not easy for any of us, but it's very important. Okay. Y'all need to prepare yourself for the next person coming up here. Some things have come out of this woman's mouth today that I was not prepared for, and I'm not sure what is going to happen. So, this next lady is a force. She works tirelessly to help others be as successful in their recovery as she is. Please welcome Calendria Jones.
force, tirelessly successful. You wouldn't have said that at 3. You probably wouldn't have said that at 8. You wouldn't have told me that at 14 when I first tried to commit suicide, and my mom thought I was trying to get attention, and I was like, really, Bodiqua? There's a whole lot of shit I could have done to get attention other than that. But okay, because that's what we do as Puerto Ricans. We pretend like the things that we see our children go through are about attention, or about she just fucked up at school yesterday, so she's going to do this today because she doesn't want to get her ass whipped. But where were you when I was 7 and you realized that your husband couldn't keep his dick in his pants? I don't know what we do, because you're a survivor yourself. So what happens when brokenness can't help brokenness? Somebody decides at 18 that she's going to birth a son that she will always have to love, even though deep down inside she hates him. And he decides to be born on my birthday, so fuck it. August 15th, I have to share my birthday with my survivor, sexual survivor, me. I have to share my birthday with my abuser's son. I call it a setup. I always speak to people about my recovery or about recovery period, and I tell them, what's your birthday? Yell it out. Everybody else out their birthday. And I'm like, yep, that's the day that God knew I was going to arrive. So that meant that everything that I needed from August 15, 1972 to today, he already knew. Now, no, for all the religious people that talk about the devil and the God, and, well, how could God let that happen to you, sweetie? God didn't let shit happen to me. He really didn't. There was an evil motherfucker that decided that his dick didn't belong in his fucking pants and decided to do something other than what he should have done, as my fucking father loved me. So for years, the man that took me to church and dressed me up and praised the Lord and said hallelujah and went to the biggest church in Brooklyn, Tabernacle, for years, this man taught me something different about God. And so my question at 17 and 18, when I'm pushing the birth of a son, that I'm going to blame it on the dude that I was with because it couldn't be his. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to pretend, and we're going to save you. So the Calendria at 3 decided she was going to save the Calendria for 25. That then would have a man come into her life and look at my father from the gate and say, something's not right with that man. And I turn to him and I'm like, what do you mean something's not right? I don't like the way that looks. Something about him. He doesn't treat you like a daughter. He treats you like a girlfriend. And I'm looking at this Timberland Jersey dude like, the fuck is you talking about? Like, really, son? But he planted a seed. And it's beautiful how God does things. I say he's the best chess player ever. He sent this man where I was allowed to birth something inside of me. That it wasn't just about giving birth to a daughter named Faith Essence. Woo. The power to give birth as a woman and have something marinate in you that was supposed to be there, and you know that it was supposed to be there, and you decide, I'm not going to name him Day-Day like the fucking song I know, Jodeci, right? I'm going to go through the Bible because I need to know this little girl's name. Because I'm about to have a beautiful baby. And I don't want to be mad anymore. I don't want to be angry anymore. I don't want to be pissed off at the last baby daddy that left. I need to give this little girl and the other 3 something different. So as a mother, I decide I'm going to be a pit bull. I want to be something different than what my mother said, than what Steven said, than what the high school bully said. Because I don't know about you guys as we talk about Black Lives Matter. Fuck that shit, because mental wellness matters. It's not about Black lives. Because guess what? Black lives don't give a fuck about my dark-skinned skin. Because when I was coming up, it wasn't cute to be this black. You had to be light-skinned and hair down your ass. Well, yeah, no, that wasn't me. So I decided that I'm going to do something different. I'm going to give my beautiful kids something different. And so, God, you got to tell me how to make this make sense, because I got 3 kids, 1 on the way, baby daddy's in Jersey. You got to make this make sense. Like, something has to happen quickly. So I'm going through the Bible. Hebrews 11:1. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not. Yeah, I don't see a baby daddy. I don't see clothes. I don't see a crib. I don't see shit. Lord, make it happen. Because I'm about to have a baby. It's 2 weeks before July 19th, and I need Pampers. And baby daddy is still running in the streets because, you know, he got a crazy ex that's tripping. Her name is Faith, and I need you to believe me for her essence. Oh, Faith Essence. I birthed me July 19th. My birthday no longer is August 15th. July 19th, I pushed a beautiful Faith. And I look at her and I'm like, I can't be ugly, because the nurse is coming in there saying, oh my God, she has all this beautiful hair on her head. And my mother used to call me a black tar, bald-headed bitch. So I'm like, bald-headed, beautiful hair. And Ma, you didn't birth her, I did. But, you know, then he's really cute, so we have another one. And his name is Zion, because he represents the new land that God allowed me to live in. It's a beautiful thing when you stop being mad, when you forgive. I forgave Stephen 6 years ago. I stood in front of an audience just like this. My husband can tell you. I did a poem, dropped the mic, and ran. They was like, oh, shit, did you just say she slept with her dad? Yeah, I did. Oh, shit, did she just say that was her son on her birthday? Yeah, I did. I dropped the mic and ran so fast, pew, out. I don't run no more. I'm not scared no more. I'm not shook no more. I love shocking people. I do. I love sitting next to the white guy at a meeting that thinks he's sitting next to a master level bitch. I'm like, psych. I don't have near a degree. I look like it. No, bitch, I'm dumb as fuck. But I know what recovery looks like. I know what a comeback looks like. I know what it is to forgive, because that's the only other place to go. I'm not mad. I'm not pissed. I probably could actually serve Steven some food today. I might spit in it, but I could serve it, right? And I probably could cook him some acapuya and some oroconcondules and be like, last meal, son. Thank you. Like, seriously, thank you for allowing me to realize how resilient I could be. And then I can teach other people to be just that resilient. Because, see, recovery is never about the fall. It's always about the comeback. But the world wants to convince you that the comeback is about the president. Psych. It's not. We can sit in a room, and it doesn't matter the color of our skin. I sat in a room, and it didn't matter the color of our skin. Every tear that we shedded was the same fucking color. So no, Black lives don't matter. Mental wellness matters.
Said no. Oh, what was that? She almost said no to doing this. So we've got one more wonderful story, and then we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to have a few more. But our next presenter was recently honored, I hope I'm getting this correct, as the Health and PE Teacher of the Year for Henrico County. Congratulations. Right? She shares her story with anybody who is willing to listen. Please welcome Miss Tammy Oslins.
Touched her boob by mistake. All right. I got done with family life recently, so I talked about penises and vaginas all day. So what's a breast, All right, so there we go. Speaking of, this happened like 2-3 years ago in February. I was sitting in the gymnasium, and we have what we call pride rallies, which are similar to pep rallies. And I was sitting there, and that's where they recognize students and teachers for all these awards. Well, they had gotten to the award of Teacher of the Year. And I'm not going to lie, I was half listening because it was a pep rally. I'm sitting there with my sixth graders, and I'm more be like, sit down, sit down. So I'm really not paying attention. And everyone starts clapping and screaming. And one student looked at me, and they're like, Miss Oz, it's you. I'm like, it's me? They're like, it's you. So I go up there, and I'm kind of all shocked and shaken, and there's 900-some people in the gym. I just take my award and go sit back down. And the first thing when I sat down was, how the hell could it be me? There are 10,000 more better teachers in this building than myself. I don't deserve this award. I don't know how I got this. But you see, that's how I always have felt about myself growing up. I felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt like I didn't deserve anything. I didn't deserve to be recognized because I did live a tough life. See, I grew up with 4 brothers, and I love all 4 of them very much. But one thing that if you have 4 brothers, I learned real fast was how to be competitive. I even have a twin, and we were 3 months early, and I guarantee you he kicked me out. That's how competitive it got in that womb. Because they said, my mom said they literally had to drag him out. So I guarantee you he was like, bitch, get out. I want this space to myself. It gets so competitive, even at dinner, I would try to go for second helpings, and a fork would go in my hand and say, nope. And, ironically, what they never knew and they never caught on was I would hide those cans of Chef Boyardee raviolis. I would put them in my closet because if I didn't, I would never get any. And then I would tell people, they would say, oh, you got a boyfriend? They were like, shit, what's dating? I got 4 brothers. You think I have a date? I said, if I do ever get a date or a boyfriend, A, it's a miracle. B, I guarantee you it's on Channel 12 News because it was like, holy hell, she has a boyfriend finally. But there's 2 things that they did give me. They gave me how to be a fighter, and they gave me strength. But being the only girl did have its downfalls. See, I had no one to talk to when it came to girl problems. Yes, I had friends I could rely on, and I had my mother. But at the time, my mother and I really did not have a good relationship. We did not get along. So a lot of times, I would come home from high school and just go in my room and just cry and just feel all that sadness. And then later on, I noticed as the years went on, my moods would change. All of a sudden, in college, I would be up at 2, 3 in the morning, vacuuming, doing whatever. I'd be up for 24 hours straight, not just doing whatever, working on papers, whatever I needed to do. And then all of a sudden, maybe a few days later, I'd be in the bed, sleeping 12 hours, not eating, not sleeping, not taking a shower, just crying nonstop. I even remember one time I went to the mall, and I spent $1,000 within an hour. And I couldn't even tell you what I bought except for one thing I remember. I bought a different color toothbrush for every day of the week. And I came home, and the first thing my mother said to me was, number 1, what the hell you on? Number 2, give me your credit card. And I just looked at her, and I said, you're jealous. You don't have a different color toothbrush of every day of the week, but you could if you bought some. And to me, I would describe it as a roller coaster because I was going in that. I'm not a big fan of roller coasters at all. But you would get that up, 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 and then you'd be waiting for it, and then it would hit. And you would twist, spin, whatever, go upside down. And that's how my emotions felt. And I'm going to fast forward. A few years later, I just couldn't take it anymore because I was wearing all these different masks throughout my life. I had to be this way for this person, then this way for another person. So I remember I came home one night, and it was during my college years, and I just couldn't take it anymore. So I went to the cabinet in the kitchen where my mother kept her prescription pills. And I remember I took the bottle out, and I put the pills in my hands. And I had a glass of water in my other hands. And I looked out there, perfectly out the window, just tears coming down my face. And I was like, should I? And without hesitation, I swallowed them. I remember drinking the water, and then I remember going to my bed. And I remember all I did that night was take off whatever was on my feet and just laying in the bed, looking at the ceiling, praying to God, please take me. I'm done. And I remember just crying. The room started spinning. I started seeing double, and I thought, yes, I'm dying. This is exactly what I wanted. And then the room went black. And then I woke up the next morning with one hell of a hangover. And the first thing I thought of was, damn, I'm so stupid I couldn't even kill myself right. And this, I describe my emotions as being in a jungle. Every day was a different emotion. Every day was putting on a different mask. And sometimes the mask would be different throughout the whole day. And no matter what I did to try to cut down those weeds, they still kept coming back up. And some of them would keep coming taller. And then again, I remember, well, if I couldn't kill myself, then the one night I came home and I sat down on the kitchen floor. And I opened the kitchen drawer. And I took out a knife. And I remember just looking at my wrist. And I just sliced it. And I remember the blood just coming out all down my forearm, dripping on the floor. Again, tears just running down my face. And I had the knife in my other hand. And I'll tell you right now, it felt so good. I felt like, holy crap, this is one of the best feelings I've ever had. Because all this pain that I've been dealing with has been coming out. So what did I do? I sliced 2 more times just to keep getting that pain out. And that's what I kept doing on a regular basis, is I would just cut every day. What people didn't know was I had a pocket knife hidden in my underwear drawer as well. And I would use it at nighttime. You see, physically, if you look at me, if you look closely, I've got 10 scars on this arm and 12 or 15 on this leg. Because that's what I would just keep doing, is cutting. Because ironically, the pain never went away. The problems were still there. So I finally said, I got to do something. So I opened up to my family. And that's when I went and got help. And I've been hospitalized twice. And the first time I was hospitalized, first I'd like to say the hospitals you see on the movies are nothing what the hospitals really are. They make those look like they're 5-star restaurants. The one I went to had bars on the windows, no mirrors. I was like, how was I going to do my hair? And the lady's like, we don't have mirrors. So nothing like it's supposed to be. But that's when I was diagnosed. The doctor said, we're going to diagnose you with bipolar 2 rapid cycling disorder. My first reaction was like, yes, I finally got an answer. But then part of me was like, wait a minute. Where's that fighter that has been with me all my years as a little girl fighting? And then when the doctor told me that, it was actually a sign of relief. I was like, I finally have an answer for what's going on with me. But then I also thought, holy crap, people are going to think I'm crazy. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. But you know what? Again, what happened after I found that out was, after the second time being hospitalized, I was like, you know what? I don't have to fight anymore. I have this answer. Why am I fighting it? Instead, I worked on recovery, just like these ladies did. And the first thing, not the first thing, but one of the things I did for recovery, who doesn't go do it? I got myself a tattoo. So this tattoo means so much because it says strength, and I'm a very religious person, and so the T is a cross. But not only does it give me the strength to keep moving, but it also covers up the scars that you physically see. So they're starting to heal. You see, I was tired of it being Halloween every day for me, putting on that different mask. And what I realized was I don't have to do that anymore. I can just be me now. I don't have to keep wearing that mask. And then, ironically, one of my other recovery skills I use is I give my emotions names. I have a name for every person. If I call my parents, Anxious Annie might be calling. Okay, Kissy Kathy may be around if there's a good-looking guy. You never know. Huggy Helen. But there's one out of everybody that doesn't mess with. And my 4 brothers, one's a police officer right here in the city. One was a Marine. 162, 200-some pounds. But there's one that nobody messes with. And that is if Brianna the bitch is here. I've never seen 4 males run out of the room so fast. And they will say, is she here? And I'll say, yep. And they'll say, tell us when she's gone. You know, and growing up, too, just recently, it's only been like a month, I lost my daddy. And he was like just my protector. And he was the one that would always tell me out of the whole family, you are the strongest person. And days I would call crying because, you know, I'm going to have good days and I'm going to have bad. And he will say, where's that strength? Where's that Tammy that's that fighter that I know? And recently, and Aaron brought it up, I was going to talk about it, was I got this congratulations in my email. And I thought, the first thing I thought was, congratulations. I didn't do any sweepstake. I don't know what the hell they congratulated me about. But then I read it. And that's when it said I was named the health and PE teacher for the county. For the first time ever, I actually smiled. And I said, God damn it, I deserve it. I have been nothing but working my ass off for this county in this health and PE department. I finally deserve some recognition. And that, folks, I'll tell you, was the first time I recognized that the scars that are inside have finally healed up. The scars that are on the outside, they will be there, but they're sealed. And for the first time ever, I can now say I only wear one mask, and that is the mask of Tammy. And that's the only mask I'm going to keep on for the rest of my life. Thank you.
So before we take a break, I just have to say that the thing about this project that has been so incredible to me is that every time we meet, and tonight it's very visible, that every single one of these women has an incredibly different story. And for many years, I thought to myself, my pain isn't enough. My trauma isn't enough to say it out loud. There are people who've been through more than I have. And the fact of the matter is that that's true, but it doesn't make my pain any less. It doesn't make my anxiety and depression any less significant to me, because that's the only person whose experience I can really understand. The magic of this project is that each of these amazing women sat at a table together over the course of the last 5 months, and they shared their stories with one another, and not one time did anybody ever say, my pain is worse than yours. They all were open-hearted, open-minded, loving, kind, warm, and tonight, I am so heartened to hear their stories and to hear our laughter and to be able to hear the weight of what we have heard tonight and still be able to laugh and still be able to understand that there is life after trauma. There is laughter after trauma. We can have difficult conversations and still have a good time. Thank you all so much. Please go get a drink.